ဟုတ်ကဲ့အားလုံးပဲမင်္ဂလာပါကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီနေ့ကတော့ပြန်လည်ကြိုဆိုလိုက်ပါတယ်လို့ပြောရင်းနဲ့ပဲအခုကျွန်တော်ဒါကတော့ပွဲစဉ်တွေအရအခုဆိုရင်တော့ဒီနေ့ကတော့ day 2တော့ဖြစ်လာပြီเนาะ grand final day 2လေးရောက်လာပြီဆိုတော့ grand final day 2ရဲ့ကျွန်တော်ပြောကြမယ့်စကားတွေထဲမှာဘသူဘလောက်ကောင်းချောင်းဆိုတာတွေပါမယ်เนาะဘသူဘာတွေလဲဆိုတော့မေးကြမယ့်အချိန်တွေထားတယ်ကျွန်တော်ကြည့်ရမယ်ဒီတော့ကျွန်တော်အခုကြည့်ကြမယ့်အချိန်တွေထားတဲ့အတိုင်းပဲခုနပြောရသလိုတို့ရဲ့စောကစားမှုတွေရောတို့ရဲ့ဒီလိုမျိုးအကောင်းဆုံးတွေချိန်ပြီးတော့ဒီလိုမျိုးရွှေ့ကြမဲ့ပုံစံတွေရောဘယ်လောက်ထိဒီနေ့မှာပြင်ဆင်လာမှာလဲမနေ့က day 1เนาะ3 digit အသေးနဲ့ရှိနေပြီဆိုတော့ဒီတနည်းကုန်လုံးတင်ဆက်ပြီးတော့မှကျွန်တော် playing set တူကျွန်
တော်ဆမ်မီပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီနေ့ပွဲစဉ်တွေအရာကတော့အားလုံးသိရတဲ့အတိုင်းမနေ့ကတော့နည်းနည်းလေးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒါပြောရရင်တိတ်တော့အားမရခဲ့တာရှိတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့မှာတို့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒါမြန်မာအသင်းတွေပေါ့နော်၅အသင်းလုံးဆိုအကောင်းဆုံးအနေထားရည်ကျွန်တော်ပြန်လဲပြီးတော့ဒါ performance တွေဆိုပြသလာအောင်မယ်တော့ကျွန်တော်ပြောလဲပါတယ်ဗျ
sorry hello baby ပြောနေတယ်ဆိုပြီးချက်မပြောအဲ့တော့ဒါတော့တကယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့စားတာပါကျွန်တော်ဒါတော့အခုဒီကတော့လောကကြီးရောအကောင်းဆုံးတွေဘယ်လိုမျိုးတွေကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီစောပြကြပါလေကျွန်တော်မြန်မာအသင်းတွေအကောင်းဆုံးတွေစောပြပါအောင်ကြည့်ရမယ်လို့ပြောရင်းနေမှာတော့အခုကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာပဲအခုချက်တော့ကြည့်လိုက်ကြရအောင် map boy system ပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်ဆန်တော့ Erundhalum မီရာမာဆိုပြီးတော့ဒါ map 6ခုပြီးတော့ sorry map 6ခု map 3ခုကို6ပွဲဆော့ရမယ်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော် placement တွေအနေနဲ့ကတော့ကျွန်တော်10 6 5 4 3 2 1ဆိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်7 to 8ကတမတ်စီပြီးတော့9 to 16ကတမတ်မပေးသွားပဲနေ1 kill 1 point ပေးသွားမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ခင်ဗျာ
ဟုတ်ပါတယ်ဗျဒါကတော့ပုံမှန်ထုံးစံတိုင်းကျွန်တော်တို့ဒါမြင်နေတွေ့နေကြ map and point system ဖြစ်ပါတယ် map ဒီအနေနဲ့ကတော့ဆန်တော့ranking ကျွန်တော်တို့3ပွဲပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့ပြီးမီရောမဆိုပြီးတော့မီရောမ2ပွဲထပ်ပြီးတော့ဆော့အောင်မှာဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ပဲဒီနေ့တနေ့ကုန်လုံးမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ပွဲစဉ်6ပွဲထပ်မှန်ပြီးတော့ဆော့ကစားတော့လာမှာဖြစ်တယ်မနေ့ကကျွန်တော်တို့ D1 ပြီး6ပွဲလုံးအပြီးမှာကျွန်တော် Harum Bro တွေဆိုတော့ဒီနဲ့တကယ်ကိုအကောင်းဆုံး performance တွေပြသသွားခဲ့ပြီးတော့ပဲဒါ3 digit ဆိုရဲဒါအမှတ်တရအတိပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့ရယူသွားခဲ့တာတွေတွေ့ခဲ့ရတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီနေ့မှာရောဒါသူတို့အသင်းတွေကိုကျွန်တော် Harum Bro ကိုကျွန်တော်ဘယ်လောက်ထိအမှတ်တွေပြန်လိုက်လာမလဲအခုဆက်လက်ပြီးကျွန်တော်မြင်တွေ့နေရမယ်ဆိုရင်တော့မြင်တွေ့နေရမယ်အရာတွေကတော့ဒါတွေ့မြင်နေရတဲ့အတိုင်းဆိုတော့ Osha Harum Bro ဆိုနောက်ထပ်ကျွန်တော် YG Stranger Tribe Erundhalum PBE ဆို MFG ဆိုနောက်ထပ် Genesis Esport ကျွန်တော် TDQ ဆိုနောက်ထပ်ဒီ2 voting sing အတူ Exquisite Esport ကျွန်တော် Mid Clan ဆို Resca Esport နဲ့ See You Soon Tiger K Enemy ဆို Fearless Esport The Quarter ဆိုနောက်ထပ် Enigma MSI တို့ပါမြင်တွေ့နေခဲ့ရတာဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ပဲအခုကျွန်တော်နေတွေ့နေရတဲ့အတိုင်းအသင်း16သင်းလုံးကျွန်တော်အခု Grand Final မှာဆော့ကစားနေမှာလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဗျမနေ့က D1 မှာတော့တကယ်ကိုအားရစရာအနေထားတယ်အားရစရာဆိုတာကျွန်တော်တို့မြန်မာအသင်းတွေတော်တော်တိတ်တော့အားရဖို့မကောင်းခဲ့ဘူးဆိုပေမဲ့လည်းပေါ့နော်တကယ်ကိုကောင်းတဲ့ဘတ်တယ်တွေကိုပြသခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတော့ maybe ဘလိုပဲနေနေသူတို့ဒါအတက်နိုင်ဆုံးတော့လဲဒါ check 2ပွဲအထိမြန်မာအသင်းတွေရယူပြီးသွားခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့မှာတော့ဒီထက်ပိုကောင်းတဲ့ဒါမနေ့ကထက်ပိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ mic ရဲ့ performance တွေကိုထပ်ပြီးတွေ့ရမြင်ရမယ်လို့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အကုန်လုံးမျှော်လင့်စောင့်စားနေရင်းနဲ့ပဲအခုကျွန်တော်တို့ဒါတွေ့ရတဲ့အတိုင်း grand final အနေနဲ့ကလည်းဒုတိယမြောက်ရက်ပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့ day 2အနေနဲ့ကလည်းစတင်လာပြီးတော့ပဲ overall standing အရာကတော့
ထပ်ပြီးကြည့်မယ်နော် overall မနေ့ကနောက်ဆုံးမှကြီးခဲ့ပြီးကြပြီလို့ထင်တယ်နော်ထပ်ပြီးတော့ကြည့်ကြမယ်ဆိုရင်ကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာ overall ရတော့ Broya အမှတ်တရလုံးဝ3 digit တွေပါခွဲပြီးတော့ခွက်ထွက်သွားပြီနော် Broya နော်ပြီးတော့ Osha အနောက်ကနေ80နဲ့ပြန်ပြီးလိုက်နေ PBE 69 TDQ ရဲ့တကယ်ကိုအကောင်းဆုံးပြန်လိုက်နေခဲ့တယ်ပြီးတော့58 56နော်ကျွန်တော် G ရတယ်56 214ကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာ50 MFG လည်း46 YG 44 Exquisite 43 SD ရတယ်39 FL 33နဲ့ကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာ season တော့ပါအကုန်လုံးအမှတ်တွေကတော့ပြောမယ်ဆိုလိုက်နေခဲ့တဲ့အသင်းတွေကတော့တပွဲစားပြီးဆိုတော့အပေါ်ရောက်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုပေမဲ့တော့လေbro မီဖို့တက်ကတော့တကယ်ကိုကျွန်တော် Osha ရမှာ chicken တပွဲစားတယ်ပြီးတော့အမှတ်20ကျော်လောက်ရမှာကိုကျွန်တော်တက်လို့ရမယ်လို့ပဲပြောရမယ်ဗျ
ဟုတ်ပါတယ်ဒီတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးပဲတကယ်ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့မျှော်လင့်စောင့်စားနေခဲ့တဲ့အတိုင်းကျွန်တော်တို့မြန်မာအသင်းကြီးရဲ့အကောင်းဆုံး performance တွေကိုဒီနေ့မှာတွေ့
Deadline boss, crazy all nighter.
on the fray. You've also got Voltix, you've got Reckoning Esports 2, Lifecraft for them. Things are looking way too dicey, but definitely the wind is still going to be in their sails. You've also got Cheminix Venom on the fray. You've also got Voltix, you've got Reckoning Esports 2, Lifecraft for them. Things are looking way too dicey, but definitely a bounce back is expected.
Talk about a bounce back. You certainly need all these teams to make a bounce back today. You cannot keep it down to the grand finals. You need to get it way off.
Content creators, if you get forward with the conversation now, Fixes, considering the first game Group B
For all the
scored the
started off.
PG, they've been super inconsistent. Yeah, they did hit back quite nice yesterday, but you never know what's going to be holding them off today because these teams definitely are changing a lot of their playstyle. And for CG to play defensive, they need a lot of
Right now, doing
teams like and NIY. And
but barring that, so many big names inside of the lobby. THW, definitely one of those teams who's been kind of silent yesterday. I really want them to bounce back also.
The only team we haven't seen making any sort of changes in the playstyle is 8-Bit. They have been playing the same way for years and years now, and they're still sticking to that same playstyle. They just like to hunker down one single compound. They will sit there and just hope for the zone to follow up on top of them.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like you've got something against 8-Bit.
No, I mean, it's not against.
Over the fact. I agree with you, but still, you know, the idea is pretty much same because you've got Juicy as their IGL. Nothing has changed, right? Unless and until he goes on to switch any different dog, you're going to see 8-Bit playing like that. And let's be honest, I mean, they still managed to get a chicken dinner yesterday, still inside of the top 8. As long as it still, you know, keeps rocking the boat, nothing really to worry about, at least for 8-Bit. As of now, because we've got bigger sharks who are in really deep waters. I mean, with bigger sharks, we're talking about Carnival, we're talking about Godlike, we're talking about the likes of Reckoning, THW, even Hyderabad Hydras. I really feel like they could do much better.
I think so. We're going to see the same zone once again, right on top of 8-Bit. That's what's going to happen. Because looking at the planned fly path, it's giving me those weird vibes. There's definitely a high chance. 7 Shores moving down south towards the Snufka military base, so even they're going to have a great start. No one's there to contest them. Still looking out for the players of Voltix all the way towards the right. NIY is going to be right next to him, but this time the circle moves away. So now 8-Bit, they cannot just hunker down. They would need to try and challenge some fights. And now look at this. 8-Bit, they usually end up choking up the fights when they try to rotate.
All right. I mean, you know what? Let's play the good boy, bad boy. The good cop, bad cop. You say they won't make it. I would still.
No, I'm not saying they won't make it.
Inside of the circle in this game, right? I would still believe that they somehow would squeeze their way inside. And let's decide whoever wins. Nothing to really wager, though. It's your word against mine. But for now, Cheminix, Venom, Phantom going right, passing by through the players of Galaxy Esports. Now, this is where it gets really exciting because Nova is caught in the middle of nowhere and he's been alienated by his players.
Oh my god. The teammate abandons him and now Nova's all by himself. Left to Druk it out and he will be capitalized with these. Galaxy Esports losing out on 2 players. Such a bad start. And they can't even do anything to fight back. It's done for. Even Evil is knocked out. That's the main playmaker for that team. Cheminix went him off to a fantastic start. This is a wrecking ball right here.
Yeah, now this is what Cheminix Venom are known for.
Oh my god.
And they're still on the hunt, but this time DP steps out of his vehicle.
He did not
with
reload.
That arm. Oh my god. That is a disaster and a half. But still, nothing still lost for Galaxy Esports. Yeah, barring the fact that they're already down to 2 men, Saurav and DP, 2 players alive, and Cheminix Venom really want to press on this. They know that they're hurt, they are bleeding, and this is the right time to hit the final nail in the coffin.
I mean, for VG, these are free points right here.
Yeah.
You might as well try and capitalize, right? They're being the Bloodhounds inside of the lobby, not losing track of that trail. Just following that constantly. And eventually, they do let go of the players, knowing the fact that it's a little bit too much of a waste of time if you try and keep on chasing them down. But you do see Phantom. Oh, the only reason why he's done so is because he wants the players of Galaxy to feel a little bit more stable and stop somewhere.
Look at how far they've extended. They're supposed to be heading back towards Yasnaya Polyana. I think now that is out of the cards, right? Because the moment they head there, RTG IND might be well prepared.
Oh, still on that chase. Fixes. They haven't let go.
Yeah, that is what I'm telling, right? they've been extending too much. That is not where they're supposed to be heading at, and that absolutely deters their looting time. And they also need to get back inside the circle. And that is even more concerning because now they do not know where RTGIND would be positioned at.
I mean, still for 4 free points, I would take that. Considering you've got all the 4 players up and live, you haven't taken any sort of casualty, and if you're getting those 4 points, I would still say that's a really good head start. And knowing the fact that there's no one inside of Georgia Pool Apartments, even that's going to be up for grabs.
That is exactly where Galaxy Esports head to, and we understand that that position is open, it's up for grabs, but still, you might win the battle, but eventually end up losing the war because Yasnaya and rotation around Yasnaya is exactly why teams prefer dropping over there. So many teams inside of the BGIS. The only reason is the accessibility to a lot of those places. You can rotate from the eastern edges. So much doors open up and suddenly feels like Cheminx Venom. I do not know. I just do not like it personally. Too much overextension.
Yeah, just backing away from that spot. Eventually, and I guess trying to capitalize on that Severny now. Knowing the fact that the opponents are now going to be having much better weaponry to try and defend themselves. But it's fine though. Still, I feel like for those 2 points, Cheminx Venom, a decent start. It's not going to be that big of a capitalization. Yes, a little bit of a late rotation will be seen, but it's okay in my opinion. You can still try and figure out a good rotation pathway from the front, considering you've got so many more struggling teams that like to drop around Yasna Polyana.
The only leeway that I really can grant the players of Cheminx Venom is the fact that they're an aggressive bunch. Even if they're late into the circle, I think they can still fight it out.
Yeah.
But the performance in the recent past haven't really said that particular way. It has been quite otherwise. So Cheminx Venom, I think they've come with that exact intent I want them to come out with. Take those fights, they've engaged, that's good. Get the loot, get inside the circle because RTGIND, look at this. Now this is again a small change that they've made. But suddenly now are about to lock horns against Team Reckoning. Shikari, well aware of Lobster's position and a DBS, a smack at his face, and he's done and dusted.
There we go, Reckoning Esports once again taking fights against the teams that are struggling. And they do realize these are some of the points that you can easily try and leash upon, and that's what they're doing. Straight up taking those fights, not even being scared of them. Disrespecting the opponents a little bit, yeah, on the way, but it's fine, man. Still, you're getting those 2 points, and that's a great way to kickstart things. For Reckoning Esports, they need any scrappy things that they can. And speaking of Cheminx Venom, they've still got 26 points, so I would say they're doing really good inside of the game.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yesterday we could see them. Few games really good. They've recovered, especially after that huge setback in that first semi-finals. Really did not feel like Cheminx Venom, felt like a different team was playing altogether. But RTGIND, this has to feel quite gutting, right? Especially when you try to execute something different, when you try for the first time ever to try and play around the center of the circle. Suddenly, out of every other team inside the lobby, they had to meet Reckoning.
Reckoning
right?
Esports.
Hassle-free investments at your fingertips. Open free Demat account now.
Investments in securities.
I mean, bunch of rookies with a lot of potential. The only thing they lack is the experience. Once they do gain that as well, they will definitely be able to keep up with the heat waves of the lobby. And right now, the intensity is a little bit too much. That's why Reckoning Esports, they do tend to melt. But it's fine. You can still try and gather yourself up and do things a little bit more better, your style. And Reckoning Esports, they like to go on the aggressive side of things. They haven't been put in these type of scenarios a lot of the times in the past, so you can't say still it's the first time for them. But the players, they are still the professional ones. So they know exactly how to overcome this, but sometimes it takes a little bit more time to try and understand what exactly is going on around you.
Yeah, and especially when you're in such deeper stages inside of this tournament, this is the point where you might have to, already know that you've cracked the code. Out of tens and thousands of teams, you are finally the top 32 teams in the country, and yes, you've had to take a little bit of that fall. Still amongst the 24, you need to make it inside of the top 8, and these teams have something special in them. It's all about how they savor that moment, what decisions do they make in those fights. that really make that huge difference. Now, there's one team, of course, Necro, I really want to touch upon, has to be Seven Sure, right? Yesterday, yes, there were those moments. Yes, there were those stellar clutches. But where are they in terms of the overall standings? They've got 12 finish points, but bear in mind, just a single position point out of the 4 matches they played.
You got a point. One single point accumulated when it comes to the placement. Seven Shores definitely struggling, man. They're somewhere in the bottom 6, and that's something Seven Shores cannot afford to be. Knowing the fact that Seven Shores, they do pack a lot of that punch, but for some reason, the recovery hasn't been too good. And inside of the week 2, day 1 mattered a lot. You needed to have a good head start. But still, day 2 is supposed to be that day of comebacks, right? And at the start, I mentioned this. All it takes is one good game to make that leap. And if Seven Shores, they do accumulate that, it's all going to be good in the hood. Especially Tiger, man. That 1v4 yesterday that he pulled off against Godlike, it was impressive.
Oh yeah, it was something out of ordinary. Nobody really saw that coming, and we were all on the edge of our seats screaming and yelling. I mean, Tiger, this young lad must have been waiting for years for a moment like that. And to get it at one of the biggest stages of it all, that makes it even more special. But for now, Carnival Gaming, I like it. Again, being quite aggressive, trying to lure out the players of Rivalry. And especially with Rivalry having such a good run yesterday, this has to be very important for them to also withstand the wrath of Carnival.
Carnival Gaming, especially in the final 2 games, they were playing like a gang.
Oh, yes.
We had to talk about this, right? They were like the Carnival gang, not gaming. They were just hunting down players left, right, and center, still somehow coming out on top with all the odds stacked against them. That just made things even better to witness. All the 4 players in the front, CG looking comfy for now in that spot. For how long, that's the question. That dip is not too friendly. We had to talk about this similar type of placement yesterday as well from CG, especially in that first game, right? CG taking that questionable dip. Once again, the same thing's happening over here too. Considering there are going to be a lot of those teams closing in as time keeps on passing by. And CG, there we go. Bijou from the top is going to rain down some more hellfire.
But this is one of those dips I really like. You've got a little bit of cover to play around with. And it's not like it's open from one particular area.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I'm not a big fan of dips is because all it takes is one nade, and it's directly going to funnel in the center.
Yeah, but then you've got a little bit of a spread to work around with, right? It's not a really small dip. You can scatter yourselves. You can still play around. You've got your vehicles. This is a much better position than the dip they were really holding on yesterday. And today, it's a different Carnival Gaming. It is a Carnival Gaming that is now eyeing out for an opportunity. All they want to do is just thread the needle there, get that one knock, and then you can see them initiate that push.
Look at 8-Bit. Still, they haven't breached inside of the zone, just waiting outside. They're tanking a lot of that damage from the blue.
Or is it they're setting up camp for 7 Sure?
Nope. It's not going to work out in my opinion.
They haven't moved.
They haven't. And even
It can
7
work
Shores,
out, actually.
they're taking their own sweet little time. 7 Shores, they're aware of 8-Bit's positioning.
But they do not know that, when you look at 8-Bit, this is one of those teams that really likes to rotate early. And if they would not have anticipated it, then maybe, anything could go wrong.
It could.
Because I feel like 7 Sure still are in 2 minds about this. They haven't really crossed from the Western Bridge, so they have that little seed of doubt implanted in their heads.
Yeah, it's the patience game. And the players slowly and steadily starting to move out now. The trap can definitely spring back to life. But if 8-Bit, they whiff all the shots, then it will be really dicey. There we go. Players ready to try and execute this trap. The first man's found. 7 Shores. Devil knocked out and confirmed. It's really questionable. The fact that 7 Shores knew exactly what 8-Bit was doing. That's why one of the players was still in the back lines. They sent that man as a bait just to see if there is someone in the front. And 7 Shores, I mean, losing out on that player. Now you see Toxic backing away as well. I'm not sure what the game plan is for them. Quite a questionable move.
But you know what, Necro? In all honesty, I really felt like 8-Bit could have waited a little bit longer. They let loose on the triggers quite fast. Because had they let one of the players really cross and then the second player could have made an entry and they could have easily trapped both of them. At least 2 eliminations would have been confirmed, and now, at the cost of what? They rotated quite late inside the circle. In fact, haven't really started the rotation. They sacrificed that.
Yeah,
And
just for that
all,
1 point.
Yeah, all for that 1 point. That is where even Juicy might be feeling a little bit gutted with himself. Could have really dug in for a little bit more. They're back.
Cheminix Venom on the prowl. They found the blood trail once again. They do hear the footsteps too. Venom. Man's looking quite venomous.
And this time they're aware that this is not a full squad. It's just a duo that's alive.
You never know, though. They're still not pouncing atop the prey, so they've got no clue, but this time it's definitely going to get caught. And wow, within a matter of seconds, the entire team just vanishes into thin air. And look at the players of VG, already accumulating 4 points. What a Kickstarter.
I don't know, man. For RTG IND, what has happened?
Lost.
And at such a stage, the most important stage of their career. And they seem to have run out of ideas. Initially, they lose out on 2 players, then decide to head back to their own hiding, just to be caught up by the players of Cheminix Venom. Inspiration, another team that I'm really eyeing out for. Even Galaxy Sports with just 2 players standing. And look at that circle shift towards the eastern side. This could massively benefit teams like Reckoning, Rivalry. It all depends on where the next shift is at.
The real concern begins for 8-Bit, 7 Shores, Cheminix Venom, and Galaxy. The late breachers inside of the zone. Considering all the good spots are taken away by all the other teams that are making a massive wave in the zone. It is a wave of vehicles moving in towards Lipovka. Every single house is now going to be occupied by some team. And 8-Bit still playing on the edges. Godlike, the lock horns against Prime and Reckoning. Prime's been their kryptonite so far. Do not want to mess around with that team, especially if you are Godlike. Because their firepower hasn't been looking too good recently. Godlike, they do make that maneuver inside of the city, but for how long they can take all that damage upon them. For how long the defense is going to be kept up.
I like this move by Godlike. They're just holding on to the edges of that little city there, because still they can disengage if needed. And for Prime Esports, yeah, they have been one of those kryptonites for Team Godlike, but they haven't really done any actual damage to them. I haven't really seen Prime Esports taking out Godlike. It's all about their presence, and that has been hurting. And Carnival Gaming this time against the players of THW. Kyolama already down on his knees. Ninze also goes falling down as Sam and Destiny, 2 players alive, and Sam, his position is quite compromised. He's just barely breathing, at least for now, because Carnival Gaming, they really want to initiate this fight into the conclusion. And Destiny needs to provide some cover fire.
Sam's way too low. He backs up at the top. The nade's now going to be tossed in over there too. And Sam somehow is still alive. A couple of more utilities to back it up. And CG, they haven't even fired a single shot. They're just tossing in those utils, finding those eliminations. And CG is doing really good. THW looking lost as well. That late game rotation, as I mentioned, they were looking screwed. And that's what exactly happened. THW just getting screwed up by the entirety of CG. And now they've got a couple of more teams to try and deal up with in the name of NIY. Not looking too fluid. THW, the man's found himself that little bit of a shack. For Rivalry Esports losing out on Lucifer, who was a little bit too far away from the pack. Can they close on up and get the backup? That's going to be a no. Considering Hyderabad Hydras, they've already closed on up to try and get the confirmation rolled up.
Hyderabad Hydras just playing around the shorelines, knowing the fact that they might feel quite exposed. Destiny all by his lonesome still, trying to maybe steal a couple of finishes here and there. He's managed to land that knock. And NIY, that one fallen player is way far from his pack. Ravan seems like he's got those 10 heads, because one of them did get popped off. And he's down on his knees, and there you have it. The commitment coming in, and Blade out in the open. With their vehicle being driven by. Too much commitment for NIY.
It's fine though, they're good. The man's going to be back up on his feet. Revival there. Blade
This.
is able to stick that revive. There we go. Ravan is right there. Back up. For NIY, it's decent positioning. Considering they're still playing on that southern edge, there's a high chance the circle's going to be moving away from them. Looking at 7 Shores, they're right behind the players of NIY. This can be the opportunity the players of 7 Shores are looking out for, because NIY, they have been treated as the free points in the game. At 7 Shores, they need this exact confidence booster. What are NIY doing? Rotating out in the open like that. It is definitely quite a questionable move. They should have just stayed pinned down in that same spot.
And even to make matters worse, one of the tires was also flattened out. Hence, you could see that speed really being absent over there. Moving too slow, and Destiny, this was his golden opportunity. Could have gone for 2 players right there, right now. But for now, we've got Kevin X Venom pushing in on the players of Magnet Esports. Chandan is trying to provide that resistance. But sometimes Kevin X Venom, they're well prepared as Sauer again goes down. Gets the trade though, but Bijoy and Chandan, 2 players alive. What can they do?
How can you even hate what's going on right now? Kevin X Venom, so aggressive inside of the game, just on the prowl for the foes in the front. Magnet Esports so far, the defense is actually keeping up to all that heat that Kevin X Venom is bringing up. There's a lot of venom being injected in the side of Magnet, that's for sure, but now it's a 1-on-2. Can he make that happen? That's the real question. Take it a 1-on-1 now. Kevin X Venom, they do get eliminated from this entire lobby, but Magnet, they're taken down at just a 2-man squad.
Yeah, even for Magnet, really cannot smile about this fact, right? You've got Reckoning right above you, and there you go. Those nades sailing in. Chandan, he knows something's definitely up as 8-bit right on their sidelines. They could also pounce in on this moment, but a little bit of a breather. Could recuperate though. Has gotten IGL back to life. But for Magnet Esports, this was definitely a close escape.
It was. Magnet Esports, I mean, getting those 3 points accumulated, fine. But for Kevin X Venom, they've already secured 6. So you can't say a decent outing from this entire game. Not good enough, but still it's something that's going to keep the consistent hope alive. 7 Shores, even they start to chime inside of that fight as they take some chip damage against the players of NIY. A knockout was found. The conversion, I'm not sure. Still, that one last man of THW was right there, but even he gets eliminated by the likes of NIY. So I like that move from NIY.
I'm loving what 8-bit are also doing. You know, right around the edges, they've got their backlines clear. They got a couple of finishes here and there. But this is it, Reckoning. Finding the better of the players of Galaxy Esports. Down to just what the last man. And they're kind of unaware of where the final player could be positioned at. Haven't really checked on the sidelines. Sort of, the moment somebody from Reckoning really takes a peek, I think he needs to retaliate back because his buggy is going to be visible out in the open.
First game from Galaxy, a complete letdown. Sorov is the only man left alive from that entire squad. He can definitely make the survival count. For how long? That's the question. Carnival Gaming on that move as well, considering they've taken a lot of damage themselves. It's looking a little bit too tough. 7 Shores, even they start to move in slowly and steadily. And Hyderabad Hydras, they will need to try and keep the hands up. The defense, it needs to be uncrackable. But they do make the rotation out of this spot, knowing the fact that they're quite exposed from the back lines as well. Hyderabad Hydras now aiming for that bigger picture.
Yeah, they really need to take a fight. At least need to clear their back. At least put their opposition in a very uncomfortable spot. Because otherwise, Hyderabad Hydras, they're going to have to pay a hefty amount of price there. As Godlike, this time they're engaging against the players of Rivalry. Admino gets down 2 players. Courtesy to just that one grenade. And for 7 Shaw, this time going after Aryan. He's already down on his knees. It's just a matter of moments before he gets wiped out. But for now, Godlike, they're literally everywhere.
Godlike looking good for now, but Simpy knocks out Jonathan, his own teammate. Godlike once again choking up these fights as Jelly, even he's doing a lot of that damage against the foes. Jelly knocks out another man from the side of Inspiration. What is going on in the game? At this point, you do not even know. Admino is able to do so much damage against the teams in the front, but then Simp chokes up massively. And now Simp pulls out the shotgun. He gets shut down as well. At least the backup fire is going to be there from Admino. Once again, Admino to the rescue.
Oh my god. This could not get worse than this, but for now, Jelly's still in a whole world of trouble. Has to deal with the players of Inspiration all by his lonesome. Gets down the one player. Aryan still alive though. From the backlines, you've got a lot of those players looking at Aryan. It's just a matter of seconds before he also needs to take his final breath. As now Jelly tossing up that grenade, not really going where it intended to.
He should have get the confirmation when the time was right. And now this nade's gonna sail right next to him. It does a lot of that damage, but look at Aryan. He's got the MP45. He's not gonna keep up with that. Gets shut down in return. Godlike, at least they survived this onslaught, but still, looking at the entire choke that we saw, things could have been much more better.
Yeah, who do you blame? It is the situation, it is the time they're living in, but look at this. Jelly, oblivious of Arthur's position, or is he?
He is
All right.
oblivious.
Yeah, does not know, just dropped the smoke. And Arthur, he hasn't moved a muscle there. And he could cause some massive amount of damage if he went unchecked.
He is still unchecked. And Jelly's inside of that same smoke. If Jelly gets knocked out and dusted right here, right now, things going to be way too bad. Artel position still uncompromised. Rivalry. They were the one who took some heavy amount of damage upon themselves from Godlike. It was Admino to dish out that damage. And now Artel, he can't have the chance for that redemption. He can't get his revenge. 8-Bit, Voltic's right next to him. You've got Aditya, Mighty in the front lines. And for 8-Bit, they're taking some heavy fire upon themselves. They're quite exposed.
Definitely are. Already have lost out on one of the players. Mag down on his knees. They do not have enough time to get that res back up. But for Voltex Gaming, 8-Bit, they're wounded and this is the perfect time for them to strike. Vortex, they also can get quite aggressive, quite mischievous, because right now, for what we can witness, it is Reckoning who are deciding to own this entire map. The way they're spreading out, the way they're engaging in all those fights, 4 finishes accumulated, and the position they're playing from, I think they can go a little bit more deeper.
Reckoning Esports with all the 4 players definitely looking like a wrecking ball. Kevin X1 could have been the one, but unfortunately they got wiped out a while ago. Reckoning Esports with these 4 finish points acquired, looking quite confident in the approach. 8-Bit, they can be on the receiving lines, but 8-Bit, they need to move out in the open inside of the circle. Look at Reckoning. Shikari, he's taking a lot of damage from the backlines from that one last man remaining from Magnet Esports. And Chandu's position is now compromised. Moving in towards 7 Shores, just having that one single shack. All the players inside of that shack, one single nade can gift you a package.
Yeah, the only silver lining over here is that they've got that smoke to at least cover that skylight over there. Nothing really creeping in, but for 8-Bit, this is where pushes really come to shove. Players are falling down one after the other. Mighty on his knees, but Juicy and Aditya still breathing. But these grenades flying over. Juicy barely surviving by the skin of his teeth. And 8-Bit, this is quite bold if they're really going in for those revives. And a grenade comes, pushes the vehicle, and in turn, Team 8-Bit is back biting the dust.
As I mentioned, 8-Bit, this is what exactly happens with them usually. When the circle is not on top of them, they do not make it. Hyderabad Hydras, though, definitely looking like a well-knit unit. Look at Jelly's position. If this vehicle gets blown up, Jelly's done for. Jelly's still taking that massive gamble. The last man surviving from Godlike. And the fact that his position is not known is also quite impressive. All it takes is to be able to squeeze up to that late game scenarios, at least be in that top 3. That can give you a lot of those points that are needed if you're Godlike to make that leap. One decent game, it can definitely bring you in the top 16. But looking at towards Hyderabad Hydras, they've already gotten 8 eliminations. They're looking so good. All the 4 players in the game, the spread's looking quite wide, everything's looking aligned.
But for now, for Hyderabad Hydras, this is their trial by fire. They have to get inside the circle. Given the fact they have to deal with Jelly, they have to deal with the players of Reckoning, who've also got all their players alive, and this is the nice starting opener. You get that knock on one of the players of Reckoning, Viper is down, but the trades really not making it easy for Hyderabad Hydras.
They do get the knockout onto one of the players on the side of Hyderabad Hydras. Shots are now taken, Hunters is low. Reckoning Esports, still unknown of that fact, and look at Jelly, oh my god, he still hasn't striked. The man's got the trigger discipline. He knows exactly where each and every single player of Hyderabad Hydras is. He can't go for a squad wipe too. He's got all the 4 players in front of him. He's just waiting for the right moment to strike. This is way too insane. Hyderabad Hydras still not sniffing out Jelly. All it takes is that one single glimmer for Hyderabad Hydras too, but they're not able to see it, and somehow Jelly's still alive. A couple of more utilities being tossed in the front. And now even the wall of death starts to move in. Jelly needs to reveal himself, and as soon as he moves out, he gets eliminated. All of that for this?
Oh my god, quite unacceptable. Should have at least gotten a single finish, but still got like a decent position comparing to how they played yesterday. But for Hyderabad Hydras, they're starting to lose out on numbers, but still are firing on all cylinders. Baltics Gaming could be their next victim, as Vishu was quite low, but then that nade sailing in from Viper's side. Hyderabad Hydras again crippled. And for now, let's see Reckoning. What can they conjure as those bodies keep on falling? Hunters going in for the push. The last player surviving has to be Insidious. Still fights back with a sliver of HP on him. Reckoning, they lose out on Hunters, but still take down, decapitate Hyderabad Hydras.
Reckoning the Alphas. It's all down to Viper. But Voltex, they've got a massive spread, and Reckoning they can't hide at this point in time. It's done. Viper just gives up. He straight up just peeks out, and he knows it's done for, so he does not even try to fight back. But yeah, Voltex, they're going to be the one to kickstart things on a fantastic note, as they do get the first chicken dinner of the day.
Wow, what a game it was. When we all thought it could be somebody from Hyderabad Hydras or maybe Reckoning, Voltex Gaming come out of nowhere and seize this chicken dinner for themselves. And it all came down to, these two giants going up against each other, and the spoils of war were pretty much taken by Voltex. I mean, had they not lost out on Hunters, things could have been completely different though. But then again, kudos to Hyderabad Hydras and Reckoning, they're back to their old ways. But even, barring the fact, yeah, Jelly had his moments there, Godlike still had a decent outing, especially considering by just this one game, they got more points than what they got yesterday by playing 4.
Exactly. I mean, that definitely is a great start for Godlike, but then it's all about being able to keep up with that pace, right? Yeah. Now they need to move on with that momentum, get some of these points once again, and that's how they can bring themselves back in that top 8. As we mentioned, all it takes is a couple of good games to make that leap, or maybe one chicken dinner to make that leap directly in the top 8. And for Godlike, they're definitely a little bit more closer now. It is not impossible. Moving in towards Reckoning Esports, what a performance that was. On the aggressive footing once again, Reckoning just being the cleanup crew.
And definitely after this game, they might propel inside of the top 8 if I'm not wrong, because yesterday they also really bounced back in those final games. And they've understood, right? Fighting is the way to go. And this time, let's be honest, the stars aligned also for them.
Yeah.
The circle was really favoring them. They had a beautiful spread, went after multiple teams, and did not really look back. And this is where, their strength really comes in together. Players being confident, pushing in for those fights. And this is exactly what I also wanted to see from Godlike. Look at them. They initiated that 4v4 fight. In fact, they were all over the place in Lipovka. They took down 6 players over there. Yeah, there were those few mishaps. One of their players, I think Sim, knocked out Johnny, and Johnny got finished by the players of Inspiration, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened. That is quite unfortunate. Yes, Jelly could have gotten a few more points, but then could've, should've. We're not going to make those assumptions anymore.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right? But still, work done in the right direction for a lot of these teams.
I mean, still double digits on the board, right? For Godlike, they're doing a fantastic start, but now it's all about being able to keep up, as I mentioned. The wind is in their sails. The momentum's still not yet, in my opinion. Because that one single double-digit game, yes, it does give you that assurity that you're now much more closer enough, but it's not going to make you be inside of that top 8. And the only time when you can get the assurity is if you're in the top 8 itself. That's the only time you can get that confidence, that sigh of relief. Before Godlike, there's still a lot of that task left over. We've got the winning moment in front of us, and Voltex, this is how they pretty much shut down the entirety of Reckoning Esports, and a couple of more leftover players from the side of Hyderabad Hydras.
Now, would it be correct if we say that nobody was paying attention to Voltex Gaming? I mean, that was such a massive stretch. All their players were quite apart from each other, and they were still getting a lot of job done. I think 8 finishes is something that they accrued for themselves, and you could see in those final moments, one player was on a different angle, the other on a different angle, and it was all about Voltex Gaming waiting for that right opportunity, just that fight of Hyderabad Hydras and Reckoning to come into a conclusion, and that is where they struck. And they did strike gold, because the last player surviving really had not a lot of room to work around with, and that was a little bit of a mishap. But apparently, apart from all these teams, I think Cheminx Venom, this is one of those teams that had a really good start into the game, but they fizzled out very fast.
Exactly what I was about to mention, right? They straight up move on towards Magnet Esports, and now this is where the question really lies. Was that a good fight or a bad fight? In my opinion, that was a bad fight. But once again, Cheminx Esports is just really changing the tempo in the lobby. Yesterday, they were playing a little bit more aggressive compared to the week 1, and now they're playing a little bit more aggressive compared to the day 1 itself. And I'm not sure how I like it, because off the rip, they did get a couple of more points when it comes to the elimination, but then they missed out on the placements completely. So I guess they need to find a perfect balance between those things.
Ideally, yes, but
Yeah.
when you're speaking from the shoes of a player, I think that was still a good approach because Magnet Esports, one of those teams. Just before that, you've managed to almost decapitate one from Galaxy Esports. I think they got two players, the
Yep.
final two of RTG IND. They were on a roll. They felt like they could conquer the entire world. And for them to go on ramming on the doors, they initially did manage to get that one knock. Yes, I understand your argument over there that they were kind of unaware of the positions of Magnet Esports, but still, I think for Kevin
Not just that.
yeah,
Not just
go
that.
on.
There was also Reckoning Esports at the top. And the only reason why Cheminix Venom got eliminated in that fight is because of Reckoning Esports. They were doing a lot of that damage. They were chipping out some serious numbers on them, and that's the only reason why Cheminix Venom got eliminated. Now, the only way the slam and dunk could have actually come through is if they would have utilized the smokes a little bit more better, and those preemptive smokes could have saved the day.
I really feel like they were aware that Reckoning was there.
They were. That's
they-
what I'm saying, right? Still slamming it towards that compound from that direction was not a good move.
They just made a deal with the devil there, hoping that it all works out. Because for Magnet Esports to be there, they know that Magnet Esports is quite a lot of defensive team. If you talk about their DNA, their style of play, they really wanted to, just keep on pushing them, maybe wipe them out, and eventually taken over that spot. Because at that point, that was around the center of the circle, and it is quite known. Even if you are Cheminix Venom, they carry a lot of experience. They knew that what they were really signing up for, and it's still a one-off, but still getting around 6 to 7
Decent
points
game.
out of that one single game is quite decent.
Yeah, it's quite decent, right? We mentioned they had 24 points when they started the day, and now move on forward, add those 7 points as well. That's just going to be the icing on top of cake, right?
Yeah.
Moving on forward towards CG, a team that we expected to perform. They did win that fight against THW. They did claim those 3 points, but then after that, CG was just evaporated in thin air.
Yeah, we did not really see what happened to Carnival.
Yeah.
Gaming. I think the last we saw out of them was they were in a fight with THW. They were winning that. They had around 3 finishes, but I think the way the circle shifted, that is what was like the Achilles heels for them. But if you talk about the MVP in CGS from Hyderabad Hydras, and this is also a team that has been quite consistent.
Oh, yeah.
If you talk about the performance in day number 1, they ended up quite well, had a chicken dinner to themselves. This time, even getting a 3rd position finish with decent amount of finishes, I think is quite stellar if you're Hyderabad Hydras.
I mean, Hyderabad Hydra's moving in from checkpoint to checkpoint with the way they were clearing out the angles as well. They were also holding off NIY all by themselves. They were holding off Prime as well. Seven Shores too. They were taking so many fights, and still in the end, they had all the 4 players alive. The only team that was a big kryptonite was Reckoning Esports, and they've got 3 players on the board over here in the top 5 performers. Look at the conversion, right? 4 finishes from Viper, and the damage was 873.
He was literally all over the place, and we've been talking a lot about this young lad. He's been breaking records. His positioning is quite impressive. The way he engages in those fights, his raw confidence is out there. And even when you've got a partner like Hunters along with you, that just makes it even better, like an icing on the top of the cake. Even Shikari Jod, you put him in any situation, he feels more like a complete player. I've seen him excel in those close quarters. I've seen him provide some beautiful cover fire. He is definitely a new star in the making. But when you look at the point standings, 18 points for Voltex Gaming, Reckoning really not far behind. Same goes for Hyderabad Hydras.
Yeah, 16 points each, right? Then you've got Godlike Esports. As I mentioned, they have managed to crack in with those double digits, but they still haven't cracked in the top 8. But if you speak of Reckoning Esports, they have definitely moved in. Maybe even Voltex, they have moved in, right? Inside of the top 8.
But I'm really impressed with Seven Shore and Galaxy Esports, considering how the start of the game was with Seven Shore. Their idea was to cross over the bridge. Yes, they were camped by the players of 8-bit, still managed to finish above them. Same goes for Galaxy Esports. Right from minute 1, they lost out on 2 of their players. Barring that, managing to get 4 points, I think I would still take this as a win for them.
Yeah, I mean, still, even if they do miss out on one single game, they do have that cushioning, right? They started things off with the 2nd spot in the overall standings, and that spot's not going to be taken away from them that easily. Cheminix Venom having those 6 points, definitely a decent game. Godlike, a good start for them. You can't say inside of the journey of this week too, but you never know how the future performance is going to look like. Now you talk about the mishaps. CG, just getting those 4 points, not able to keep up a lot more in that lobby. You also had 8-bit choking up that fight.
I think for Carnival Gaming, it had to do something with circle shifting away from them and them trying to enter inside of it and things not really working out. But even for the likes of 8-bit, I think we saw them survive for quite some long time. But I guess Reckoning was just too much to deal with. You also had the players of Voltex from the backlines. They were instilling a lot of that hurt. THW Esports and even Rivalry. As a matter of fact, how good they were yesterday. This is not the kind of a start that